Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Today's the day we've all been waiting for as we gather virtually to celebrate mental health at its finest with this day's laudable speaker na alam kong kilala ninyo. This day is unlike any other day because we will meet one of the viral YouTubers and TikTokers this year live here in Zoom. Grabe. Power talaga. And by the way, let's use these hashtags as we post screenshots of today's event in your social media accounts. Hashtag SWDS, it's okay not to be okay. Hashtag mental health matters. Hashtag Lyqa Maravilla, hashtag Team Lyqa, and hashtag Ang Kabataan, ang Pag-asa ng Bayan. I am so excited with today's event because we need this message. We all feel several kinds of emotions, including the negative ones, and we understand you. We validate your feelings because it's okay to not be okay. Ika nga sa hit K-drama having the same title, only those who have suffered truly understand suffering, and only those who have experienced grief become truly happy. And to really make the most of your webinar experience, we would ask you to please interact with us by sending us your thoughts in our chat box. And you may also want to greet each other, especially that our speaker is now with us. Good morning po, Coach Lyqa Maravilla. Good morning po, Coach. Thank you for being with us this early morning. And of course, let's be loud here in Zoom and even in your social media accounts because actually we are live in Facebook. So good morning, netizens. Mag-ingay tayo online. Once again, we hope everything is set in your virtual rooms as our online webinar on mental health will begin shortly. Brace yourselves because in a few minutes, we'll start to know that it's okay to not be okay. See you after this short break.
Join us and we'll show you the greatness of SSU. Summer State University, soaring high with excellence. Seat of innovation, we'll build and serve the nation. Summer State University, it's the best for you and me. Your future and dreams come alive. So come on to Summer State University. Summer State University. So come on to Summer State University. troubles come and my heart burden be, and I am still and wait here in the silence until you come and sing a while with me. You raise me up so I can stand on mountains. You raise me up to walk on stormy seas. I am strong when I am on your shoulders. You raise me up to more than I can be. There is no life without its hunger.
Each restless heart beats softly, perfectly.
But when you come and I am filled with wonder, sometimes I think I glimpse eternity. You raise me up so I can stand on mountains. You raise me up to walk on stormy seas. I am strong when I am on your shoulders. You raise me up to more than I can be. You raise me up so I can stand on mountains. You raise me up to walk on stormy seas. I am strong when I am on your shoulders. You raise me up to more than I can be. You raise me up to more than I can be.
Mga kababayan, ang pambansang awit ng Pilipinas.
Kayang magiliw, kaya sa silanganan, alam ng puso, sa likid mo'y buhay.
feeling where your thoughts scare you or make life tough? Sometimes it feels like no one else in the world has those thoughts or feelings. No one seems to know how difficult it is to deal with your feelings. And it's not easy to share your deepest secrets. You might think something is wrong with you. Or you might worry what other people think. And all of that makes your thoughts and feelings worse. Our culture has created this environment of shame. Until the 1960s, society sent people away if they had challenges managing their thoughts, emotions, and behaviors. Over time, we learned that we didn't have to be afraid. We learned how to help people get better. We became hopeful. But there are remnants of those images in our culture today, which is why some people still feel uncomfortable talking about it. The stigma has taken new forms too. With more access to more people all the time, it can seem like the world is telling us it's not okay to be anything but perfect. The truth is, everyone has thoughts or feelings that can be hard to deal with. So why do we make it so difficult on ourselves by judging others who could be going through the same challenges we are? What if, instead of seeing labels, we saw people who are struggling and could be there for them so they didn't feel so alone? What if we looked past our fear of mental health and started to talk about it in a constructive way? What if, as a society, we used empowering words and healthy images to help people feel supported? Maybe then more of us could feel comfortable telling others when we're having a hard time. Maybe more people would get the help they need. And maybe one day we won't have to talk separately about mental health and physical health, but just health. The truth is, each of us has the power to change our culture. Will you join us? Share this video with a kid, your neighbor, a friend, and help us break the stigma of mental.
Never will I ever forget what JCJ said, and I quote, "It's healthy to admit you are not okay. It's okay not to be okay. It's brave, but don't let it win. Be sad. Have your moment, your day or week, then do something about it and be happy." And today, Summer State University, through the Student Welfare Development Services Office, is committed to take mental health forward, to break the stigma, and to know that bravery is not making a facade that you are okay. Real bravery is this: it's okay not to be okay. And today, we make a safe space for you. A very good morning, ladies and gentlemen. We would like to acknowledge our participants here in our Zoom room and of course in our Facebook live streaming. First, we have our speaker, Coach Lyqa Maravilla. With all honesty, ma'am, we are so honored to have you with us this morning. We also have the whole Student Welfare Development Services team as our facilitators who are here right now in the boardroom. Kaway-kaway naman po kayo dyan. Good morning. And of course, to the students of Summer State University and our participants from other universities and colleges here in Samar, and our Facebook and YouTube viewers, people of Samar and of the Philippines, welcome to the webinar on mental health tagged as "It's Okay Not to Be Okay," with the chief aim of lifting the stigma about mental health condition that, just like any other physical health condition, it requires therapy and medication. And brace yourselves, ladies and gentlemen, because today we have her, no other than Coach Lyqa Maravilla, an online educator, a motivational speaker, and an author. And I would like to inform everyone that our webinar is now beginning. Please kindly ensure that the protocols for this event are followed. First, if possible, please turn on your cameras throughout the duration of this event and turn off your microphone if not needed. Second, your name in Zoom shall appear coded by your honorific name dash affiliation. For example, Miss Jessa dash SSU. For FB Live participants, you may share, tag or mention your friends to join this FB live stream. But please refrain from posting unnecessary comments in the comments section. And for our Zoom participants, questions and clarifications will be entertained after the talk. By then, you may turn on your camera and microphone, or you may use the chat box. And the moderators will cue if you are already recognized. For our FB participants naman po, you may key in your questions and clarifications in the comments section, but will be entertained after the talk. Please stay until the end of the symposium and make sure to fill out correctly the attendance/evaluation and answer the post test to secure your certificate of participation. And this one is important po. Attendance and evaluation link will be opened until December 2020 on behalf of those who will not be able to join the live stream of this symposium. Additional po housekeeping before we get started. Let us all be guided by these online rules and etiquettes. First, turn on the lights if you can get proper lighting. Please do so. Sit near a window or have a bright lamp nearby. Look at the camera when talking. Especially mamaya, if you want to ask question directly to our speaker, look at the camera when you talk. It's a bit awkward at first, but your audience will appreciate eye contact. Mute your microphone if you are not talking, and then keep it professional. Maintain professional posture and appearance. And lastly, give some grace. Be patient with participants and allow some grace for any miscommunications that might occur. SWDS, are you ready? I want to hear from you. You could just put your thumbs like this on your screens. Ayan, I hope you are all ready, because as we heal as one during this pandemic, we must also build each other as one. And this person who will formally welcome us to this event and who will give the rationale of this activity is the head of the Psychological and Wellness Services of Samar State University. She is a certified member of Team Lyqa and a believer that it's okay not to be okay as long as you don't give up. Ladies and gentlemen, help me welcome Miss Maria Andrea C. Del Rosario, registered psychometrician.
Hello, good morning everyone. Ayan, so medyo nahirapan ako pantayan yung energy ni Miss Jessa. Alright, so I'm here to give you the rationale of this activity. Why are we conducting activities like this? Okay, so the title of this activity is It's Okay to Not Be Okay. Ayan. So I know that all of us, experience mental health challenges at times. Yes, no one is actually exempted. Yan. So it's okay not to be okay at times. In fact, negative emotions are normal and mental health conditions can affect anyone at any time. So emphasize ko lang, anyone. Yeah, nobody is exempted. Nowadays, this subject is still taboo. So we're not comfortable talking about mental health. I don't know why. And many young people, young or old, many people, young and old, who experience mental health challenges are hesitant to ask for help. In fact, in universities like SSU, only a few students are going to the guidance office because, the stigma is there. Na kapag pupunta sa guidance office, bad daw, di ba? The misconception about guidance office. So this webinar intends to lift the stigma and take it for what it is. Mental health condition that, just like any other physical health condition, sometimes requires therapy and medication. Ayan. So always remember this, mental health is equally important as physical health. So I hope that today you will learn a lot. We have a very special speaker. Actually, I'm a fan, super fan of Coach Lyqa Maravilla. So I hope that you will learn a lot. Share this FB link to your friends. This is open to all, even to non-SSU participants. So thank you, and let's enjoy this webinar. Back to you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Ma'am Andrea Del Rosario. And she is the head of the Psychological and Wellness Services here in Summer State University. At ito na po, ayoko na pong patagalin pa. Let's get to meet who is our speaker for this morning. And to introduce her is no other than the Director of the Student Welfare and Development Services, the mother of the SWDS here in Summer State University. Please welcome Dr. May V. Canial.
Okay, good morning, Summer State University and our dear students. And for those coming also from other schools, grabe ira kakayan ira energy yan nga adlaw. Dili ako maaram. Waray pa ito ira breakfast ha. So, for our speaker for this morning, while waiting for... Okay, so siguro damo yan at excited for our webinar. So the title of our webinar for this morning, it's okay not to be okay. So again, just like Andrea said kanina, it's actually about, we are now parang promoting on our mental health. So our speaker for this morning is Coach Lyqa Maravilla. She is an RPM or a registered psychometrician, an author, a motivational speaker, and an online creator or educational content creator. So after getting the top spot in the 2013 civil service exam, Lyqa started making free content on YouTube to help people pass aptitude exams like the civil service exam and college entrance exams like the APCAT. So a community of learners from all over the world who call themselves Team Lyqa. So apart from her YouTube channel and other social media accounts, which have millions of subscribers combined, Lyqa teaches trivia classes in different parts of the country and various government agencies. Because of her passion for teaching and content creation, Lyqa was selected as one of the YouTube Next Up winner for 2017 and remains active in the creator community here in the Philippines. She was also invited as the only Filipino panelist and moderator for YouTube EduCon held in New Delhi, India in 2018. She was recently chosen as one of the YouTube and United Nations Development Program or UNDP creators for Change Ambassadors for Asia Pacific countries. Lyqa Maravilla continues to create educational content about math, English, logic, and other related subjects. Her goal is to democratize education here in the Philippines and just maybe in the entire world. So our participants from this webinar, let us welcome our speaker for this today. Let's welcome Lyqa Maravilla.
Hi everyone, good morning po. Good morning sa inyong lahat. Can I just say that this is one of the more organized events that I ever was invited to. Ms. Andrea, thank you for the opportunity to be here with the students and with all of you right now. I was thinking kanina, sabi ko, oh, they have a dedicated department when it comes to student wellness. Baka hindi na nila ako kailangan. Like, you don't need me anymore. You should be the one speaking to them, no? But I'm grateful for the opportunity. I think in many ways, what I do lang online, making the videos that I make is translation work. It means na the technical stuff that we studied, like Andrea, right, and of course our dear doctor, Miss May, and everyone else, is that it's very technical kasi if you study it sa school, and it can be overwhelming, but the need for us to turn this technical information into public knowledge is a lot of simplification, like making metaphors, like making it something that's more palatable, if we may say so. So that is what the work that I do online. So that is the reason why I post the content that I make. But you have to really commend the ones who do the groundwork. So sila Andrea and everyone else, the ones who are actually talking to the students, you do great work that I cannot do right now. So again, I'm grateful for the opportunity. Let's jump into it. I'm going to keep it short. I just want to open more time for question and answer. Because I know that you are ano ba, a few months into online learning, and there are a lot of new challenges na nag-arise na. I keep changing the way that I give these talks kasi iba na yung issues eh. Like before, it was more like fear and anxiety of things that we don't know. But now that you are knee deep into this and having a fresh batch of struggles, I know that we need to talk about those. Okay, so let me just share my screen. Okay, so it's okay to not be okay. And again, I'm speaking from my experience, not just as this, no, the stuff that laging nasasabi about me. But I'm speaking from experience as someone who went through the entire gamut. I was diagnosed with depression back in, I think it was 2006. And at that time, it was still a different world. When you say that you went to a psychometrician, wala pang psychometrician then. If you go to a psychiatrist, most people think already na, okay, she's too far gone. And I went through the entire struggle of, asking for help, trying to get my parents to bring me to the doctor. But it had to be a different journey, I feel, for me, simply because I had to be the ate for a lot of younger kids today. So a lot of the things that I'm going to talk to you about, and even the way that I'll be responding to your questions later, will be based on my own experience, okay? So it's not the title that's more important or who I am right now, it's the journey. And that is what I am going to share to you today. So the overview would be like this. We're going to talk about two sections in this talk. The first one is what is now, and then the second one is now what. And this is a simplified way of looking at things. And this is something that I tell my students all the time. This is something that I try to tell everyone online, that whenever there are situations that are not as ideal, it's very important for us to recognize what is going on, to acknowledge the problem, to sit with our emotions, to feel everything. But again, it doesn't end there. You have to ask, now what? But let's start with what is now, okay? So quick definition of terms lang. But before that, let me ask you, who's watching right now, how are you? Now, most of us, when we ask people how they are, it's more of parang courtesy lang. So we ask them, how are you? O kumusta ka? But we don't really wait for a response. And I think if we want to help other people, or even if we want to help ourselves, we should grab these opportunities na people are checking up on us, or that we are checking up on other people, to really acknowledge what we're feeling right now, to be honest with them. So when someone asks you, how are you? How do you express how you feel? Now, let me just define this. No? Now, when it comes to emotions, it's not just about the depth of sadness. For example, if we're going to talk about sadness, it's not just about the intensity of the emotion. A lot of people think kasi na it's the only thing that matters. Pero if you think about the definition of terms and accuracy of language, hindi lang siya dapat depth of sadness. The way that that sadness is felt and how long you feel it also matters. And it's not just about sadness, it's about happiness din. Kasi you can be giddy, you can be happy, you can be joyful, you can be fulfilled, you can be satiated, you can be satisfied, no? Iba-iba yung texture ng each word. And it's going to be a really helpful tool then for you to learn these words so that we can call our feelings yung right name nila. Okay, now let's use this as an example. And again, I'm not trying to get you to self-diagnose, ha? I'm just showing you in a more visual way. This is a diagram that I came up with, no? Kung nasaan banda yung emotion na yon. Now, when we talk about general sadness, di ba? So there's this depth ng sadness kasi it really does affect you, but it doesn't have to happen for a long time. Okay? So kahit siguro, oh, I'm sad today, it can last for today. You're sad, okay lang. But hindi siya run for 2 weeks or 2 months. It's just regular sadness. So if you feel this way, you're sad. For example, oh no, I didn't do well with my quiz kanina, so now I'm sad. Now, another word for sadness is what we call sorrow, right? Now, sorrow is different from sadness because it's deeper. It's much more intense. If you are sorrowful, your emotions are more intense, mas malalim. You probably are weeping instead of shedding a tear or two. And the length of time is usually longer. So you have sorrow if, for example, you lost an opportunity, there's a big test that you failed, or sometimes when we lose a loved one, no, it can extend for longer periods of time. Then we call it grief, right? But it's a different texture than sadness. So parang if you think about it, parang kang nagkakape or you're having coffee, tas iba-iba yung intensity ng ng acidity or ng tapang ng coffee, tas iba rin yung halo ng sugar, right? Or ng milk. Now, if we talk about gloom naman, ang gloom kasi, di ba, if we have a mental picture of that, it's like having dark clouds outside, right? Parang may omen of bad weather. Tapos it lasts for a long time, but it's not as incapacitating as sorrow. Kasi when you feel sorrowful, you can't do anything but just feel sad. But just cry kasi talagang malalim yung feelings mo. Ang gloom, it can be an uncomfortable feeling, but somehow, albeit slowly, you can keep trudging along sa life. So that is gloom. But it is longer pagdating sa period of time. Now, doon na tayo sa medyo tricky na term. We have despair. Now, despair is different from sorrow. It's even more intense kasi despair now has a feeling ng hopelessness. Okay? So you're not just sad, you're not just sorrowful kasi you lost something. Despair, mayroon na siyang hint ng, okay, there is something na nawala sa akin that I may never get back. There is an opportunity that I will never get again. There is a person, a society, something that I cannot change. So despair is way more intense and it can also run for a longer period of time. Now, if you notice, these are just 4 words and all of them, if you look at the dictionary meaning, they could mean sadness lang. But they're very different. Kung introduce pa natin yung term na depression, which right now I think is one of the most misused terms when it comes to language, I would put it here. Now, if you notice, the depth of the sadness can be different. So, iba-iba yung intensity niya. But one thing na common when it comes to depression, at least in the diagnosis of a major depressive disorder, or to call it a mental health issue, is that the length of time has to be longer. Okay? So ano ibig sabihin nun? When we say that we're depressed, we have to be careful. So yung first thing that I tell people who want to be a mental health advocate is that you can unlearn certain things. That if someone is organized, don't call them OCD or OC. If someone is very moody or switches from happy to sad really quickly, that doesn't necessarily mean that they already are bipolar. And when you are sad, you are not necessarily depressed. So having the right word for what you're feeling right now helps you sort out your feelings. And if you're able to express that to someone else, it also helps them deal with how you're feeling right now. So there are other words like frustrated or disappointed. It's just that we have to find sometimes the right word. But if you're unable to do that, a good way to go would be to tell people about what you're going on, what you're going through, what's going on in your life, and then they can find a better way to call what you're feeling right now. So again, it's not as simple as asking people how they are. We have to wait for their response. We have to wait for them to process what they're feeling. And the beauty of it is sometimes, and I say this again from my experience, even knowing the exact word that you're feeling right now can help you make you feel better. I am not very good when it comes to handling my emotions. And I think it comes from my upbringing and the culture that I was raised in. I'm happy to be a little bit older than most of you kasi we get to straddle both generations eh. Millennial kasi ako, no? And a lot of people are fighting online right now, especially when it comes to mental health. The boomers daw versus the Gen Z. Pero kaming mga millennials, I'm a bit of an older millennial kasi we tend to stand between the gap, no? And we translate these things for you kasi we know how it feels to be in a generation that literally didn't talk about it and to be in a generation wherein you're highly encouraged to talk about your feelings. So how do we meet somewhere in between? We start by defining terms. Okay? Technical medyo pero kailangan pag-usapan. Now, what makes them different? Let's go to the more technical definition of things. Now, when it comes to sadness, it's a normal human emotion. It's usually prompted by something. So it's very unusual or highly unlikely to be sad about something na you can't really point na parang ito yung source of my sadness. Na walang one event that caused you to be sad. So when you're sad, we ask, di ba, oh, why are you sad? And then they usually respond, okay, I lost my toy, or I went to my favorite ice cream place and they didn't have the flavor that I like, so I'm sad right now. Now, it can be relieved by crying, venting, or talking it out. It usually passes over time. The difference between sadness and depression, and I'm going to quote from the DSM-5, no? This is parang, ano, in many ways, parang handbook ng mga psych major to. The definition goes like this, or yung pinaka main niya na clue is that it has to run for 2 weeks. Okay? And yung mga symptoms and everything dapat naglalast siya for at least 2 weeks. And that merong distress or impairment. When I say distress or impairment, ibig sabihin, you're unable to function as you would normally. There's a feeling of, okay, I'm unable to help myself at this point. And we are causing some sort of disruption in what we usually do. Okay? So merong problema na hindi na natin makontrol. So it's actually really different, vastly different from sadness. And sadness, if we look at the definition, is just one of the symptoms, sabihin na natin, of depression, but it's not the only one. Now, there's another term, yung dysthymia. Actually, this is my current diagnosis, no? I still don't know why I still laugh when I say that. Maybe because it makes me uncomfortable. But I have dysthymia, and the thing with that is that it's not as intense in many ways. And then, again, this is an oversimplification as major depressive disorder, but it has been running for a long time. So I was diagnosed with depression when I was 17. And then the diagnosis went down to dysthymia for most of my life now. And why am I talking to you about this? I think I was in NCMH a few weeks back. They had an event then. And one of the participants asked me, like, we are psychometricians po, coach. How do we tell people na it's okay for them to talk about their diagnosis or for us to talk about mental health? And it took a lot of courage then for me to say that one of the things that we can do would be for those of us who went through this, who are going through this, and if we feel now we can do it, it's good for us to own up to our diagnosis and to say na, okay, even if I have this, I can still be a contributing member to society. So I'm telling you that, again, when we look at the spectrum of things, no, through the prism of, okay, what makes an emotion and a disorder, there are a lot of things that we can talk about. But the main point is, whether you are just sad or whether you are depressed, your emotions will always affect your performance, will always affect who you are. And they can easily flow and ebb. And a good way to redirect that would be very helpful to us. Okay? So again, what is now? We have to recognize how we are feeling right now. So let me just reiterate this now before we transfer over to now what. Is stress bad? Okay? And I know that most of you are dealing with stress right now kasi maraming schoolwork, maraming responsibilities. And we know how the entire country is heaving and huffing kasi dami ng mga crises na dumarating. But one way that we can look at things would be to, again, define terms. No, I love that this concept is something that I'm borrowing from a book that I love. So one of my favorite books is the Giver series. No, it's a quartet by Lois Lowry, and in the first book there is this scene na si Jonas yung lead character kasi he has a younger sister, and then yung mom nila nandun sa kitchen with them, and then yung younger sister niya sabi doon sa mom, I'm starving. Okay? And then the mom says, accuracy of language, please. Kasi you're not starving, you're hungry. Kasi if you're starving, you're just about to die. Sa sobrang gutom, di ba? Yun yung ibig sabihin ng starving. And because you are able to differentiate those things, we can now find the courage to face this. Kasi alam na natin yung gagawin. Kumbaga, the right cure for the right sickness. Now, when it comes to fear and anxiety, it's the same. A lot of people think that interchangeable sila. Like fear and anxiety are almost the same. So I'm afraid, but are you afraid or are you anxious? So how do we see things differently? Let's look at fear, no? Fear is an emotional response to a known or definite threat. Ibig sabihin, the danger or the source of fear is real, definite, and immediate. There's a clear and present object of the fear. Ibig sabihin, if I'm afraid of dogs, for example, hindi naman na ngayon kasi I have a Haley na. Pero dati, when I was younger, meron akong irrational fear of dogs. So even if I see a dog sa dulo ng street, just to avoid that dog, I would actually go the longer route to my house. Minsan 5 to 10 minutes longer maglalakad ako sa arawan just to avoid that dog. Okay? But there is that dog that I'm afraid of. So if my heart is pounding, if I'm sweaty and feeling scared, it's because there is something that I can point at, which is the source of my fear. But anxiety is different because it's a diffuse and unpleasant, vague sense of apprehension, and it's often a response to something that is imprecise and unknown. Ibig sabihin, you still feel the same way that a person who's afraid would feel. Your heart is pounding. I mean, naririnig natin minsan yung heartbeat natin sa tenga natin. And I say that kasi whenever I speak, kahit sa webinars lang, or lalo na when it's in public, or lalo na, honestly, kapag mas intimate yung conversation, so it's just me and a few friends, tapos may strangers na dumating, I hear my heart pounding in my ear. I get sweaty, I get nervous, I stutter a lot. So I really struggle with my own anxiety. But again, there is no imminent threat. Like, if a person who meets me doesn't like me, hindi naman ako masasaktan or hindi naman niya ako sasaktan, di ba? Pero there is that irrational sense of fear. Okay? Now, if we know the difference between fear and anxiety, ang maganda, we can acknowledge that fearing fear can be scarier than the source of fear itself. So are you afraid of something right now or are you anxious about something? Bakit? Kasi if you're afraid of something, there's a different path that you could take. You could eliminate that source of fear. You could avoid that source of fear. You could remove yourself from the situation. But if it's about anxiety, then you really need to seek help for it. You need to talk to someone who knows what to do. You can go through therapy. You can open the door for counseling and for you to have coping mechanisms that would help you. But it's a different path. Okay? Visually, isn't kita natin magkaiba yung path na itatake mo if you know what's going on. Okay? So I really encourage you that when it comes to dealing with your now, acknowledge kung ano yung nangyayari and call the fear by its name. Okay? So again, it's okay to not be okay. And a lot of you, maybe right now, if I tell you, how are you doing? Okay? Don't feel the need to tell me that you're okay. You can still say naman, I'm not okay. And let me just start off by saying that right now, I'm not 100% okay. I don't know what it is about November, pero may seasonal din naman na effect din when it comes to dysthymia and depression, no, and mood disorders, no. Pero for some reason, even in my Facebook memories, kapag November, I get a little bit sentimental, a little bit gloomy and sad. I write a lot of poems pag November and December. So kahit ako, I could say na right now I'm not 100% okay. But, and I think Jess already touched on this kanina, quoting someone else, no, na when it comes to saying that you're not okay, don't let it end there. A lot of people would put a period right here, and then they're done with it. But I am very much into encouraging people not to put periods in their sentences, and especially in their lives, because if you don't put a period in there, it leaves room for some things to change. Okay? So, wag tayo mag-stop dun sa I'm not okay. You can follow it up with something. And I used to teach my students that, na whenever people ask you, oh, ano to, and you don't know something, or ano tong word na to, and you don't know, what you say is, I don't know, but you add a but. Okay? So, I don't know, but I will find out. Same thing with I'm not okay. I'm not okay, but you have to add a but. Okay? You have to add, but I will be. Okay, so I may not be okay right now, but I will be. How do we transition from not being okay into someone who believes na I will be okay? What are the things that we can do for the meantime while we are not okay? Let's start off with something simple, no? Dun sa now what na tayo na section ng talk. Let's talk about the difference naman between problems and worries in life. They are a lot akin to sadness and to fear and anxiety, in that the magic question is, can you do something about it? So when it comes to things that are problems or are worries, a lot of us are overwhelmed by a long list of things that we are thinking about right now. Like if tatanungin ko kayo, anong pinoproblema mo ngayon? You can go from, okay, what am I having for lunch later? What am I having for dinner? Yung ekonomiya ng bansa, yung mga victims ng bagyo, yung grades ko, my friend who is for some reason not messaging me back right now, yung parents ko, I worry about them. So we have a lot of problems, right? And a good exercise would be this. And this is something that I've been doing for years. And nakatulong siya sa akin. I hope makatulong din sa inyo. That's the reason why I'm sharing this. What you could do would be to write a list of everything that bothers you. And it doesn't have to be big, okay? So pwede siyang simple na things that irk you. Yung mga, okay, the dog is always barking. Or why is it now whenever I wake up, I don't feel the need to get up? So any simple thing that makes you feel uncomfortable, irks you, irritates you, write everything down na iniisip mo, na nag-affect sa'yo. Okay? And then you ask yourself, can I do something about this? Okay, so go through the list. Each of them, ask yourself, can I fix this? Can I do something about it? Bakit? Kasi if you can't do anything about it, you can move it to the column ng worry. The things that you can fix, that you can do something about, you put it under your problem. And then yung mga things that you can't control, you put them under worry. Now, once you do that, once you have that list, it's not about measuring which section is longer or ano yung mas intense. It's not about that. I encourage you to look at your list of problems and start dealing with them one by one. Now, bakit? Kasi, at least for me, having that confidence kahit papaano na you gain every time you cross a problem off your list, it makes you feel good about yourself. And it also uses up time that you would have otherwise used for worrying lang. Okay, ano ibig sabihin nun? If one of my problems is that, okay, wala na akong tissue sa bahay, or laging nauubusan ng tissue sa bahay, and I feel bad asking my parents for tissue, di mag-order lang ako ng tissue na para sa akin, na may separate ako na stockpile ng mga things that I want or I need. Okay? If ang problem ko is that my dog is always barking, then I would find a way to build a new routine with her. Now, whenever I speak, itatrain ko siya to stay silent. And honestly, that is something na nagawa namin with Hailey. Nagawa ko with Hailey. Kasi Hailey would usually be with me whenever I talk, pero hindi napapansin ng ibang tao kasi quiet lang siya. Kasi she knows that mommy's working. So tahimik lang siya, nasa feet ko lang siya. Happy na siya nun. Okay? So again, you can start removing things off of that list. It gives you confidence, and it also has real life implications. And you would find that the worries, which are things that you could now share with someone, not that they have to fix it for you, but you just need to talk about it. Or if you believe in God, which I know naman kasi with the songs that you played kanina, you do. I do too. I pray about these things. There's a verse in the Bible, it says, cast your cares upon the Lord, and for he cares for you. And in many versions, it says, cast your anxieties. And it's a perfect fit. And let me just say this, no, in the original Greek text, the root word of the word anxiety that they used there, kasi it's different eh. Yung sabi, cast your cares upon him, for he cares for you. Parehong cares yon, pero magkaiba sila ng meaning. Yung he cares for you is more about affection or love or concern. Pero yung cast your cares, that first cares, which is yung translated in as anxieties, there is an aspect of that word that means having split personality, having a divided being. And when I discovered that na, okay, ito yung reference nung word na yon, nung anxiety, it really made sense. Bakit? Kasi when we're anxious, when we're worried, when we have mental health issues, we feel shattered, right? We feel broken. We feel na parang hindi ako buo, okay? May separation of myself, parang may something wrong with me. Parang ganun yung feeling. And it's there. It's right there. So you can really pray about it then. It can also help. It just is something then that we have to talk about. A lot of people would say, oh, you're feeling bad or you have a mental health disorder. Ipag-pray mo, kaya read the Bible and it will be fixed. And it's really not about that. And I can attest to that. No, it can help, but it's not enough. Okay. Now, more often than not, the problem with our problems lies not in how much of a problem they are, but in how we make them ours. And maganda rin yung video kanina, no? It's about the entire community banding together. And let me just reiterate that then. It's not the problems that are the problem, but in the way that we sometimes think that we have to carry it by ourselves. And I know even if hindi pa ako nakapunta physically sa inyong college, that your student welfare department is there for you. I'm glad that you have a dedicated team na for this cause and that they are having programs like this for you. But again, let me just speak for them because I'm pretty sure that they will agree that their door is open for you. Hindi nga lang baka hindi lang physical door, but virtual door is open for you. Talk to someone, okay? Share the load. Not just the phone, but the load, the burden. No? Now, let me introduce this then to you, the threshold concept. The idea goes like this. We all have our own stress thresholds. So you have to know your limits to set your limits. Now, let me use this as an example. No? This is a clear container. So glass siya. Kung ako yung container, and then my anxieties or my fears or my worries, yung stress ko is the water here. If malapit na mapuno yung glass or if the water level is rising, I would notice, right? Kasi I know I can see it. That is the importance of knowing your limit or your threshold. But if you have something like this, okay? So I have a tumbler, di ba? Pero hindi siya clear eh. So ang tendency, if hindi ko nakikita yung laman sa loob, I will keep pouring water on it until it spills over, right? I would have to be very sensitive to know kung malapit na siyang mapuno. Pero most of the time, you wouldn't know kasi hindi mo siya nakikita. So it's important for you to know your limits kasi that's the way that you can set your limits. And then you can say no na to certain things. Okay? Now, how do you do that? How do you make sure that the water level is at a good level para hindi siya mag-spill over or para hindi siya makapanakit ng ibang tao? First, try to use a clear container. Be open with yourself. Take a step back. Okay, and it's something then that I try to teach people na whenever you're in the heat of emotions, or if you are unable to process certain things, take a breath, take a step back. Like you can analyze certain things more objectively. Like ano ba yung nangyari? If I get riled up about something that say my sister said, okay, na-offend ako, I have to take a step back and ask myself, okay lang ba ako ngayon? Or is yung sinabi niya just the straw that broke the camel's back? Where am I right now when it comes to my stress level? And if you feel na, okay, I'm nearing my brink, no? Medyo papuno na talaga ako. There are things that you could do, okay? So 3 things lang that I'm going to talk to you about. Number 1, share before you spill. So ibig sabihin, before the level reaches yung dangerous na limit niya, you can transfer a bit of it to someone else. Before you spill. Bakit? We have a term, di ba, online, we call it spilling the tea. But the idea is, it's actually making chismis, no? Parang you're spilling the tea, ibig sabihin, kapag chismisan natin tong person na ito. And ang danger doon is that if you don't share, pero when you're puno na, bigla kang magchichika or magchichismis or magbablind item ng someone or magpaparinig, it does more harm than good. So instead of spilling the tea when you get full, i-share mo na agad. Like, oh, what you told me kanina or what you said, yung tone ng email mo kanina, and yes, my tone ng email, no? Medyo passive-aggressive. Can we talk about this? Are you upset with me? Okay? Or I'm feeling so overwhelmed right now. Can you take part of the load? Okay? And then after that, you can talk to someone. Okay? Hindi naman necessarily friends and family lang. Okay? Again, there's no shame in approaching a psychiatrist, a psychologist, your counselors, or if you have family and friends who are a bit more mature, sabihin na natin. Kasi ang danger minsan naman is that, di ba, we are spilling things over. Tapos yung kinakausap pala natin, mas maliit pa yung container niya kaysa sa atin. No? So dahil nag-spill tayo sa kanya, siya naman yung mapupuno or siya naman yung mag-spill over. But again, go and find someone to talk to. Okay? Now, another thing would be to slow down before you blow up. Ibig sabihin nun, you don't need to accept everything, every challenge. You don't need to do everything. I like telling people this, no, that you can't do everything all the time. It would be impossible. You can't be everyone then that you want to be at the same time, no? You have to pick and choose just a few that you can handle. But you can do everything or each thing in its time, in its right time. So you would really have to say no. Imagine this, no, now when it comes to tasks or things that we have to do, it's a lot like blowing a balloon naman. So when you're filling a balloon up, di ba sa first few huffs, mahirap, no? It's hard to get started. You have to take really intense na breathe, na ano talaga, na breath talaga, na iboblow mo talaga. So, huff mo talaga, mga 3 times before yung balloon magsa-start na siya mag-expand. Pero after that, di ba, at that point, you get a bit of a rhythm na. Tapos it's easier for you to let that balloon grow. But if marami ng laman yung balloon, okay, and we're talking about the balloon as a list of the things that you're doing right now, ha. Pag malapit na siya mapuno, dapat pa unti-unti na lang yung ihip. Kasi kapag yung intense pa rin yung pagbublow ko sa balloon, kapag malapit na siyang mapuno, puputok na siya, right? So we have to know which ones to start na gawin. Sa simula, yung mas intense na mga tasks, mga requirements that are both urgent and important. And then sa bandang gitna, just the less intense stuff. And then sa dulo, yun na yung mga little things na lang. That is how we prioritize our tasks. Bakit? Kasi you need to do that. Or if not, if it's in a different order, it's either your balloon will not blow up or sasabog siya. Okay? Now, you have to schedule time for study, tasks, work, rest, and recreation and distractions. When you talk about scheduling time for study, dyan na yung synchronous learning, okay? Or if you have dedicated time for certain subjects, naka-block na yun sa schedule ninyo. So sacred na siya, hindi na siya pwedeng galawin. You have to leave time for tasks. So if you have responsibilities at home like chores to do, just leave time for that. Or you can negotiate with your mom, like, Mom, alam ko ako yung tiga-hugas ng pinggan, but on Thursdays po puno yung schedule ko, yung schedule ko. Is it possible na pag Thursday, hindi yun yung gagawin ko? So I'll do something else, right? So tasks, schedule time for work. And when we talk about work, hindi lang siya about for those of you who are working students or who are working on a side gig right now or side hustle. Like if you are doing content like I am, no, on the side, hindi lang yun about that, but also for schoolwork. Kasi if you're writing papers and making your requirements, completing your requirements, dapat may dedicated time ka rin for that. Schedule time then for rest and recreation. This is very important kasi if you are not well rested physically, you're going to have a harder time when it comes to your mental health and your cognitive health then. Ibig sabihin, you will be unable to perform at the level that you will be expected to perform sa paggawa ng requirements mo or sa pag-answer ng mga exams. So make sure that you schedule time for rest and schedule time for distractions. That last one isn't something that a lot of people talk about, but I like telling people to schedule time for distractions. Ano ibig sabihin nun? You can allow yourself to be distracted, pero in limited quantities and at certain times of the day. For example, sa akin, I know what I do is content creation. So a lot of my time is spent online. But let me say this with confidence, no? If you check my phone, lahat ng notifications for all the apps are turned off. Ibig sabihin, naka-off yung notifications ko kahit for YouTube, kahit for Twitter, and everywhere else. I was one of the people who last found out na 1 million subscribers na pala on YouTube kasi I wasn't really watching out for it. But at the end of the day, I have a few minutes to check my notifications or check what happened na lang in the app. Pero hindi siya nagpa-flash sa screen ko. Bakit? Kasi I noticed na every time may magno-notify sa akin na app, di ba, you would tap on it, check it, and then the tendency would be for you to spiral into nothingness dun sa app na yun. So for example, may nag-notify sa TikTok. Bubuksan mo, tapos mapapansin mo, wait lang, 2 hours na ako nandito. Just because one notification led me to the app, no? Kasi all of these are designed to keep you on the platform. So that is something that I do. But I allow myself to be distracted at the end of the workday. So twice a day lang ako na-engross sa notifications on my phone, lunchtime, tsaka end of the workday. So that way I can be more productive. But, okay, let me just shuffle things around. Kasi a lot of people schedule time like this. But the problem is, for those of us naman who are workaholics, and I know some of you can relate to this, ang tendency ko is, I work, and I forget to have time for rest. But my mom really called me out on it a few years back. Lagi niya na sinasabi sa akin, pero I rarely listened until my body really quit on me kasi nagkasakit na rin talaga ako. Pero she told me, you know, alam ko ginagawa mo yan to help people kasi I would really film a lot of videos within a day. When we started TikTok, I think I was making 4 videos for each channel kasi I had to a day. So talagang malaki yung workload. I'm slowing things down right now kasi nga again, I have to prioritize my health and certain projects that I'm working on. Sabi niya sa akin kasi, and I'm able to do that na ngayon guilt-free kasi sabi ng mom ko, gusto mong tumulong sa iba, kaya gawa yan. Pero if you die, if you kill yourself overworking, wala ka nang matutulungan. So, I knew that dahil ako ay workaholic, I have to schedule rest time first. Ako yun ha. Kasi kung hindi ko i-schedule yung rest time ko or yung bedtime ko first, siya yung mauubos yung oras ko sa kakatrabaho. Kasi hindi mauubos yung trabaho ko for the day. Okay, so if you are like me, you can do that. Ang ginagawa ko, first I schedule time for rest and recreation. So I have a fixed bedtime, 10 p.m. 10 p.m. dapat nasa bed na ako. Which means, if I am to get to bed 10 p.m. every night, I have to end my work day ng 9 p.m. And because hanggang 9 p.m. lang yung work day ko, I have to make sure na hanggang 9, puno yun ng mga block ng time for me to do certain tasks for the day. And I keep that. Now, for you, probably what you would think would be, okay, I'll schedule time for study next. But my suggestion would be for you to schedule time for distractions first before you schedule time for study. Bakit? Kasi if you fill your day with just study time, you will find na madali tayong burnout or magsasawa sa ginagawa natin. So make sure that you reward yourself with certain parts of the day that you can allow yourself to be distracted. Most people use the Pomodoro technique. I don't use that personally kasi 20 minutes is such a short time for me to work. I can work for a long time kasi without being distracted. But if you are still training your brain to do this, that could be a good approach. Pomodoro technique works like this: 20 minutes of focused work time or study time, and then you have a 5 to 10 minute break in between, tapos another 20 minutes. Okay? So you can do that. Schedule time for distractions kasi that turns into your reward sometimes. Lalo na for those of you who are excited to play games on mobile. I play too. So I also schedule time for distractions, and then I schedule time for your study time. After that, schedule time for your tasks, and then schedule time for work. Now, if you still have no idea na, okay, anong kailangan kong gawin for my schedule, here's another neat trick. On your phone, if you have a device, there are apps, kung hindi pa built-in sa phone ninyo, that can track your activity on your phone, right? And ang maganda, like, let me just use my phone as an example, no? Yung, meron siyang graphs. Yeah. So, meron siyang graph like that na may color. Kung ano yung apps that you use for entertainment, for social media, kung ano yung productivity apps that you used. So, you can keep track kahit papaano of where your time went. Okay? Now, if you do that for a week, try doing that for a week. Take stock of what you do for a week or for that day, you would notice na, okay, wait lang. Meron pang illusion ako of no time, no? Kasi meron akong mga gaps here na inubos ko just scrolling through TikTok or through Twitter or Facebook, okay? So make sure you schedule time well, and very important na skill to learn how to say no. Okay. For example, just by me being here for this morning, Zandy had to say no to a lot of other invitations, no? Kasi we had to prioritize this. I wanted to say yes to this kasi you're in summer. And I mean, even after the pandemic, I'm not sure if I will be physically able to go to your place. So I told her talaga earlier in the quarantine season, no, na if we get invites from Visayas or Mindanao or somewhere where we haven't been, let's prioritize that. Kasi hindi ko alam kung mapupuntahan ko kayo in the near future. So I said yes to this, but that meant saying no to other things. So that's another thing to think about. When you say yes to one thing, it means saying no to everything else. So ganun tayo when it comes to scheduling time para hindi tayo mag-blow up. And another thing, Shake It So You Can Make It. I think medyo familiar na rin kayo with this. When you move around, it also releases happy hormones, endorphins that make you feel good about yourself. So doing just actually a bit of walking lang every day, maybe 15 to 20 minutes or even longer if you could, of walking can help your mood, can help your feelings, can help you sort out your thoughts. A lot of my good friends are runners, so they would run. It makes them feel good and makes them feel free. So these are things that you could explore. Zumba is not a bad thing to do. One of the jokes here in our family is that when the titas go dancing, no, kapag may mga nagzuzumbang mga tita, for some reason they're happier than your other titas, right? And it's because kasi nga they have physical exercise and social interaction din. So we can also do that. We can dance, we can sing. I do a lot of singing when I feel down. So I have a playlist of go-to Disney songs that I sing. I don't sing really well naman, pero I just sing because it makes me feel good. So find something that works well for you. That could be a way for you to de-stress. Okay? So shake it so you can make it. Art is also a good release form. So sa akin, sometimes when I feel things, like I'm overwhelmed with emotion and I can't really call them by their name, I take a palette out and then I just paint. Because for some reason, after painting, again, and that is also the reason why we use art therapy, yung mga psych major din and mga psychologists and psychiatrists, it's because it releases yung feelings din natin. So these are things that you can explore. Para when we have feelings, we don't just explode. You don't just spill over. Okay? So again, share sa ibang tao, slow down before you blow up, and shake it so you can make it. Exercise, move, do something different. I remember during one of the darker periods of my life, my youngest sister, she's in Japan right now na, pero kasi she's teaching there din. She would ask me na lumabas ng bahay. So pag nafe-feel niya na okay, 2 days, 3 days na akong hindi nakabangon from my bed, susunduin niya ako sa kwarto and she would sometimes drag me outside. Papaarawan niya lang ako, no? Kasi kahit yung sunlight na yun, it helps us re-regulate yung circadian rhythm natin para makatulog tayo sa gabi and magising in the morning. Tapos she would say na, okay, halika te, mag-steak tayo dun sa place where you want to have steak. Tapos kahit wala akong motivation or wala akong feeling na gusto kong bumangon that day, she would drag me outside. Tapos we would walk. I remember we would walk for minutes on end. Bababa kami sa isang area na parang usually magta-trike ka pa to a place where we want to eat. Pero sabi niya, ate, wag na tayo mag-trike, maglakad tayo. And then we would walk. And doing that also make me feel better. So again, all of these things hopefully could help you. Or if you are helping someone, maybe you could try this out with them. Just remember to practice self-care then. Okay? So hopefully, yung I'm not okay turns into what I will be. And if we are able to do it for someone else, or if I am, as a bit of your ate, no, can tell you this, if you're not okay, you will be. Okay? You will be soon. And I want you to hold on to that. Na it's not going to be a period this time. It's just going to be another but. And you will be soon. Okay? Now, the question would be, what are you going to do in the midst of all of the things that you're going to handle right now, all the things that you have to do? Always remember 3 things when it comes to schoolwork, kahit office work after you graduate, or life in general. Ang priority natin, lalo na in times of crisis, is this. Number 1, stay safe. So physically safe, still practice yung mga precautions natin, mga measures natin. When it comes to safety for COVID-19, wash your hands. Again, I've only been out of the house, I think, 3 times since the pandemic started. And all of those 3 trips were talaga necessary na talaga. So again, stay safe. Second thing, stay sane. So anything that you could do to help your mental health. And I'll leave you with this challenge, rethink things so that it's not just about mental health, as in the absence of illness, but mental wellness. Ibig sabihin, your ability to have a positive coping mechanism and a set of things that will help you adjust to every challenge that you're going to face. So from mental health, illness to mental health to mental wellness, stay sane. And then the third priority would be for you to stay productive. Now, these are in order, and I want them to stay in order for you. Okay? So remember, stay safe first, stay sane before you stay productive. Don't compromise yung safety, physical safety, and your mental health for productivity. Okay? Kasi being productive will be a healthy side effect if you are safe and sane. Okay? So yan yung priority natin ngayon. And again, we'll leave time for question and answer. And if you have other questions then are more personal, you can reach out to me through my social media accounts. I leave time usually to respond to messages kapag mas personal yung nagpapapayo or yung may pinagdadaanan. I just use voice chat kasi tita na ako, so mahirap na mag-thumb. So I record my voice when I respond to that. So if you want to message me, you can reach out to my social media accounts for more personal stuff or more detailed stuff if you don't want to share it here. But again, we'll open the floor for questions naman. Thank you for listening and thanks for having me again.
Wow, grabe. Ang daming inputs. It'll take me a day or two to digest everything na shinare ni Coach Lyqa kasi everything are just so relevant. At ito talaga yung kailangan nating lahat, I would say. This caters kasi to our core, the very foundation of our lives, the matters of the mind and the heart. So once again, we are just so honored to have you, Coach Lyqa. Thank you so much po. Because of your contribution to this webinar, our gratitude can never be summoned into words. So maybe we can start by awarding to you this certificate of recognition. And to read the citation of the certificate is the Vice President for Student Affairs and Services. Let's welcome Engineer Maria Lourdes P. Amante. And to award the certificate of recognition, since we don't have the vice president yet, maybe na-log out siya, no? So we'll have the head of the Psychological Wellness Services, Maria Andrea C. Del Rosario.
On behalf of Engineer Maria Lourdes Amante, our VP for Student Affairs and Services, allow me to read the citations. Certificate of recognition is awarded to Jan Angelique Lyqa Maravilla, a registered psychometrician, in grateful recognition for imparting her valuable insights and expertise as a resource speaker during the webinar on mental health, It's Okay to Not Be Okay, held on November 25, 2020 at Samar State University. Given this 25th day of November 2020 at Samar State University, Catbalagan City, Samar. Signed by the University President, Dr. Marlene D. Cardoso. Ayan, thank you so much, Coach Lyqa. I'm a fan talaga. Talagang kinikilig ako that you prioritized us because we are from Samar and you haven't been here. So thank you so much.
Ako din po, I'm an avid fan. So thank you so much, Coach Lyqa. We feel special to work with you today and hoping we'll be able to work with you again in the future. All our thanks to you po, Coach. And this time we'll be having our question and answer portion. Our students can now send their questions here on our Zoom chat box. And if you are watching online on your social media account on Facebook, you may send your questions in our comment section there. So right now po, we are encouraging you, our dear students, to send now your questions, anything and everything about mental health na para ma-answer po to ni Coach Lyqa ngayon, here and now. And we have one question na po from our netizen. She's asking, she said, please ask po kay Ma'am Lyqa. My mother and I always have this monthly feud, as in literally every month. It seems that both of us are having a hard time understanding each other. She cannot, and I guess doesn't want to accept that this is me. And so I am always tagged as the most difficult and swale among the siblings. What should I do? When we are both overworked and exhausted, it seems that she doesn't acknowledge my exhaustion because she always compares it to her bulk of load. Nabuti nga daw yan lang ang ginagawa mo and all. Basta the bottom line is better pa and other people, kaya it seems that they know me better than my mother. So what can you say about this, Coach Lyqa?
Let me start off by saying that it's going to be challenging talaga to deal with other people. And I say that based off of experience kasi, I have an identical twin sister ha. So we have the same DNA, we have the same experiences, we have the same set of parents. Magkaklase kami for most of our lives. So you would think that since we have the same problems and struggles, and we have the same DNA, we would understand each other perfectly, right? Na hindi na kami mag-aaway kasi we're totally the same. And because we go through the same things, ibig sabihin talagang we will leave room for each other to express their own emotions, no? Pero the thing is, hindi nag-work out that way. And if ganun na siya ka-different, for two people who are inherently the same, kasi nga again, structurally, DNA, pareho kami, no? Paano pa between you and someone else? Or in this case, you and your mom. So we have to acknowledge the fact that there will always be a push and pull. There will always be a struggle. Laging may difference between two people. I think ang most important question every time when it comes to interacting with people would be, sino ang mag-a-adjust? So, sino ang mag-a-adjust? And laging ganun. Kasi, of course, we need something from that other person. That other person needs something from you. So, ang question, sinong magbibigay? Sinong mag-a-adjust? Right? And you said kasi, no, from the limited things na nakita natin sa question, you said na both of you are exhausted right now. You are at the point na you're both stressed out. And meron kang onting sabihin natin bubog in the knowledge na, okay, other people understand what I'm going through, pero my mom refuses to pat me on the shoulder and tell me na you're doing good, o kaya, oh anak, ang galing mo naman ngayon, o kaya, ang dami mo naman ginagawa. Pero there are a lot of things that we can take from that entire situation, which is this. Number one, kung pagod din yung mom mo, pagod ka rin, you can always preface naman yung inyong conversation by saying this, Ma, can I talk to you? Do you have time? Kahit yun muna, okay? Kasi if a person already has too much on her plate, and you just start with a tirade na, alam nyo, ito yung problema ko, ganyan-ganyan. Tapos hindi pala siya ready to listen or wala talaga siyang literally time for it, you would feel right away na may pushback. Now, if your mom tells you na, yes, I have time, you can ask them another question, which is this. Ma, can you listen to me lang? Listen lang. You don't need to give me advice or anything. I just need someone to talk to. Okay? Just listen to me, please. Ask for it. As in, use your words. Like I always tell my students this, no? Try to use your words as much as possible. So now you're asking for something na she can give, which is time, and then time for her to just stay silent and listen to you. And if she says yes, then you can hold her to it kasi sabi niya okay lang makinig, di ba? Again, sabihin mo, Ma, you don't need to give me advice. Just listen to me, please. And then you can try to share your feelings. And then at the end, tell her, Ma, do you have anything then to say to me? Hindi rin ako magsasalita. Okay? You can talk freely na if you're tired or anything like that. And then that can start a good rapport na every month, instead of you having screaming matches, you can sit together, have coffee together as mom and child, and then just talk your feelings out. Sometimes then kasi we have this idea na kapag ako yung anak, hindi ako yung mag-a-adjust kasi I didn't want to be here, di ba? I was your choice, di ba? Di ko naman hiningi na kayo magulang ko or anything like that. But and I say this kasi I didn't have that much of a relationship with my parents growing up. Our story is a story of redemption. We only started being close, as in getting to know each other, I think 4, 5, maybe 7 years ago. So very recent lang talaga. Ang masasabi ko would be this. It may not be ideal right now, but you can grow into it. But as someone who's, you could say, kind of knows a little bit better, kasi nga, again, you're more in tune with your emotions, you can also teach your parents to do that. It doesn't have to be one way na whenever something good happens in the family, sila yung mag-initiate. Sometimes you can train your parents then to respond in a different way. So yun lang. Pero again, the question would be, sinong mag-adjust? Kasi you will have to sometimes bear the brunt of the transition. And use your people who understand you as your backup when you go through this. Ask them to pray for you, no? Pray mo na ako, tatry ko ulit kay mama ngayon. And it can happen. It's possible. Kasi my mom and I, we didn't talk din dati. It was always, ito yung allowance ninyo and then we're done. Pero ngayon, like, okay na kami. So there's hope. I hope you get to that point.
Oh, we pray that maging okay na sana kayo ng mom nyo, kung sino man po yung nag-question doon. And according nga kay Max Lucado, what I read yesterday lang, the innocent one makes the first move to understand, sabi niya. All right, so thank you so much. We have another question here from Facebook. Is telling unhappy people to smile or it's okay insensitive or invalidating?
Okay, I'll say something that's fairly controversial, no? Baka magalit sa akin ibang Gen Z, no? Pero I get that message din sometimes. Na when I tell people to change your mindset or maybe leave room for improvement, they would tell me, but you're invalidating my feelings, eh. Let me just say this, ha? Telling people that you're invalidating their feelings is not a trump card. So it's not parang okay na, get out of jail card, that's okay na yun for every situation. We have to acknowledge then again the fact na may possibility that the other person just doesn't really see where you're coming from. So minsan we have to again take it the extra mile and try to explain kung ano yung nangyayari. Kasi nga may mga inherent differences tayo as people. Now, when someone tells you to smile or basta just move on or something like that, the least you could do would be to feel compassion for them. Kasi we have to understand that maybe the reason why they're saying that is because that was what was told to them when they were going through the same thing. Okay? So again, and I know it's really painful na ikaw na nga yung may pinagdadaanan, ako pa ba yung mag-a-adjust, ako pa ba yung magiging compassionate? But yeah, sometimes that's the way to go. And then if you are more compassionate towards them, pag sila na yung nandun sa situation na yon, maybe may mag-grow in them. Screaming at them and telling them that you're invalidating my feelings without the right buffer or without the right explanation can actually alienate people. But, okay, don't end it dun sa conversation na yun. Find someone naman who would understand what you're going through. Okay? Kasi a lot of these people who say these things actually mean well. And it took me years to understand that. Ha? Kasi nga again, as a medyo first generation ako nung mga who went through therapy. Eh. At the time, it was a very shameful thing to do. Walang nakaalam yata na go through ako therapy until, I think, a few years back. Kasi my family was very uncomfortable even talking about it. Pero again, I have to understand na they mean well when they did that. So the people who tell you to smile and everything, maybe they mean well. It's not just because they're invalidating your feelings. Maybe it's the best that they could do right now. So I know you're expecting a different answer, but let me offer that up to you just to change our mind about things. Now, when it comes to changing things for good, okay, and for the good, it's sometimes, well, actually most of the time, it's going to be a slow and painful process. So we can't just ibabagsak lang natin to, tas every Filipino now knows that they shouldn't invalidate other people's feelings. Let's do it, and that is how we normalize things.
Wow, thank you so much, Coach Lyqa, for that fresh perspective. Another question po from Shayla Bajola. She said, hi, Coach Lyqa. I would like to hear your thoughts po about the idea that our mental health is sometimes becoming an excuse or escape as our responsibilities. Now that I'm disregarding or invalidating our mental health, but sometimes it happens based on my observations. Coach?
Oh, yes. And ako, I would say, totoo rin naman. Like, you have people, and since time immemorial yan, you have criminals who would plead insanity just to get away from yung crime that they did. You have couples who would claim to have disorders para lang ma-annul yung marriage nila, di ba? And a lot of public figures went through that. Now, whether totoo or hindi yung diagnosis nila, you would see na, okay, may trend dito. Na you can actually claim to have a mental health disorder to get away sa mga bagay na kailangan mong gawin. But, again, no, ito yung painful part, Sheila, no? Mapanakit ako today. The thing is, even if we know that sometimes people use it as an excuse, the question would be, what am I going to do about it? Again, doon na naman tayo sa now tsaka now what eh. Now, we know that some people, and again, I like that you said some people naman, no, sometimes, no, do this, ano nang gagawin ko? Now, do I call them out? Do I assume that people are doing this whenever they run away from responsibility? Or do I want to err on the side of caution and just take things at face value? Na if they say na I'm unable to give my part pagdating sa thesis kasi may mental health disorder ako, I would say, okay, all right, sige. Even if I don't believe you, okay, kasi that's what you said. And then I'll just do my part. Nasan point ka ng life mo? Like, how compassionate can you be? How kind can you be? And how realistic can you be then? Kasi if they are saying, again, na, okay, I'm unable to perform, I'm unable to do my duties kasi I have a mental health disorder, we can say na, okay, yes, that's your situation right now. How can we better help you? Now, yung how can we better help you, dito na papasok yung consequences ng actions nila. Like, if hindi sila nakakapagpasa ng part nila sa thesis ninyo, tell them na, okay, you may want to consider kasi you're not, di ba, you're in distress right now, you're not able to function well. Baka gusto mong mag-drop or mag-LOA muna. Let's go to our student welfare department. I know someone will help you out with what you're going through right now. Bakit? Kasi that way, hindi lang siya nagiging excuse for them not to do things. It becomes a funnel into them having the need that having the help that they need. Okay? Now, doon na rin medyo mawi-weed out, honestly, yung mga people who are just pretending or using it as an excuse. Kasi sila na yung, hindi na lang, okay na pala. Di ba? Kasi ayaw rin nila na mabooking sila or something. So, again, it's case-to-case basis to, no? Pero ang importante siguro would be this, sa akin lang, and this is my personal take. I will try my best to lead you to a path na, okay, may ibang tutulong sa'yo, pero hindi manggagaling sa akin yung sasabihin ko sa'yo na, di ba? Someone tells you na, hindi ako nakagawa ng work kasi I have depression right now. Tapos sasabihin ko sa'yo, you're just making an excuse eh. I don't want to be that person. Kasi I've heard that from so many other people. So dahil ako, yun yung choice ko, yun yung gagawin ko. Para lang walang risk of me hurting someone who is genuinely at that point. It's almost the same concept when, kasi I had this mentor before na, you know how people would ask for money on the streets, right? Tapos siya yung lagi siya nagbibigay. Even if there's this woman na yung alam na namin na doon siya lagi tumatambay, laging sinasabi na pahingi po ng pamasahe para makauwi ako sa Cavite, ganon. Tapos bakit lagi naman siya nandun sa SM? Di ba? Everyday siya nandun. So kilala na namin siya para alam namin scam to, no? And then yung mentor ko, binibigyan niya pa rin. Sabi ko, bakit po binibigyan niyo pa rin? Alam naman po natin na scam yun. Sabi niya, you know, yung bagay na ginagawa niya, control niya yun. Ibig sabihin, kung niloloko niya ako, that's on her. Pero yung gagawin ko for her, that's on me. So sa akin, hindi ko kaya na hindi tumulong. Sa kanya, niloloko niya ako, bahala na siya doon. So parang ganun yung idea when it comes to dealing with someone claiming to have a mental health disorder.
Oh, grabe. Ang ganda talaga ng mga answers ni Coach Lyqa. Another question po from one of our Facebook viewers, from Lyqa Maravilla. Good morning, Coach Lyqa. My question is, how can I at least help a friend naman who's struggling, or what's something I can do to make them feel better? Thank you so much.
I think I also made a video about this na rin. Listen lang. Like, listen without wanting to respond, listen without judging, listen without forming your own sagot na or telling them na, okay, I went through that. I know what to do kasi ganyan yung pinagdaanan ko. One way to rephrase that would be this. I try to tell people na, you know what, I went through something similar. It's not exactly the same. Like, I don't claim to know the gravity of your situation. Here are things that helped me. Maybe it can help you too. Pero lahat yun grounded na sa trust, if that person trusts you. So kung wala pa kayo dun sa point na yun, just plain old listening is really helpful. Kasi you would see a lot of the struggles that we have are rooted inherently sa loneliness naman talaga to start with. Because we don't have someone to talk to who will not judge us. So if you can be that person, start out with that. But again, at any point you feel na, okay, this is too overwhelming, this is too much for me, or there is talagang naman nakikita natin may real life risk, again, go and point them towards the direction na they would ask for help from a professional. Ang ayaw natin mangyari is for you to be the savior of your friend. Even if it feels good sometimes na, okay, I have a friend, ako lang yung kausap niya, wala siyang ibang tinatakbuhan. Sometimes it makes us feel good about ourselves kasi, oh, I'm solving this person's problem or I'm being that person for her. Pero ang long-term talaga na solution would be to get them to ask for help, for professional help. Hindi lang ikaw.
Thank you, Coach Lyqa. Another question from one of our Zoom participants. Hi, Coach Lyqa. How can I maintain social connections? What if I feel lonely?
Okay. I'm not sure if I'm the perfect person to ask that, no? Kasi I'm ano ba? Like, a lot of people assume, kasi nga, whenever I say na, okay, I have these friendships and stuff na, I'm really good at maintaining social connections or friendship. But I'm just really grateful that I found a good set of friends whose love language isn't time. Kasi yung mga friends ko, kung time ang love language niya, wala na akong matitirang friends kasi I spend very little time with them. But what we do is we make sure na whenever we talk, even if it's just a 5-minute chat or a 15-minute chat, we go deep right away. So wala na kami nung mga niceties na, oh, how are you? How are the kids? How are ganyan. We go straight into the meat of the stuff kasi para lang mas maikli yung time. But the thing is, again, when it comes to maintaining social connections, we have to sometimes understand that it is a lot of us giving and not necessarily us taking. Our frustration sometimes comes from the point na, bakit ganito? I'm being a good friend to this person, pero pag ako yung may kailangan, sinisin zone niya ako. So when we give without expecting, sometimes it makes things better for us. Kasi in that way, we are also training other people to be kind. Not necessarily back at us, but to be kind to others. And then just try and someday soon you'll find your tribe then. Because it took me decades then to find a good set of friends that I can turn to and that I can trust. Just don't give up. If right now your set of friends hindi sila at that point. Kasi you can grow into that or you can find other friends. Tiyagaan lang talaga. So don't be ashamed to initiate kung hindi sila yung unang nagme-message sa'yo.
Thank you, Coach Lyqa. Another question po from Justin May. By the way, Coach Lyqa, medyo we are flooded by many questions here. Okay lang po ba?
Yeah, sige, sure.
Okay.
Sorry lang, mahaba lang din ako sumagot.
Grabe, ninanamnam namin bawat salita niyo po. Do we need to avoid people that trigger our emotions kahit involved yung parents natin doon?
Oh, okay. Medyo that question hit a raw spot for me. Kasi medyo, sa akin, very real yung problem na yan. Yung parang, okay, there are people around my parents, tas may mga, diba, may mga sore spots with those people and stuff like that. There are decisions that we have to do sometimes, just for self-care, kasi I'm really unable to process my emotions or I don't want to go to that place right now. So if you are able to avoid people who bring you to that point, tapos medyo matagal bago ka makarecover or wala ka pang steps para makarecover ka from that, just do that. Kasi it's unnecessary for you to subject yourself to that kind of torture or pain if hindi naman talaga kailangan. So your parents are different people from you. I guess if nandun na talaga yung emotions, matindi talaga yung pairing with the people around them, the first question would be, alam ba ng parents ninyo how intense they make you feel? Kasi if ganon, then your parents can decide to either let you avoid that person or your parents can also decide to avoid that person completely. So para lang meron kayong buffer and again, na-communicate mo naman yung reason. Medyo konti kasi yung question, so hindi ko alam exactly yung context. But I'm assuming na ganon, na parang okay, friends ng parents ko yon, pero yung friends ng parents ko are doing this to me or causing me to feel these things. So you don't feel the need naman to always be there. But be real and honest with your parents. So tell them how intense things are. Para alam nila na okay, ayokong pagdaanan din ng anak ko yon. Kaya iiiwas ko na rin yung anak ko. At the end of the day, I feel naman that our parents love us and want to protect us. So if it's in that context, they would do it. Hopefully.
All right, thank you, Coach Lyqa. Another question from one of my friends po, sinanya lang sa akin. How important is faith in somebody's mental health?
You know, alam niyo ang Christianity, sabihin na lang natin na Christianity kasi that's what I believe, no. Christianity and mental health is going to be a different conversation altogether. I'm so grateful na these days it's becoming more and more na necessary or more and more na rin na mas louder na yung conversation. I was just in a panel a few weeks back with Christians then who are talking about mental health. And we grew up in a culture kasi na parang ipipray mo na lang or i-read mo na lang yung Bible mo, tapos punta ka sa church and then you're good. Pero sa akin kasi, it can be helpful. Again, the word there is can, no? It's not always helpful. Kasi to start with, if a person doesn't have faith or doesn't believe in religion, you can't tell them to pray kasi kanina sila magpe-pray, hindi nga sila naniniwala, di ba? So they would just feel worse about their situation. Sometimes you would even get people doubting na parang, kaya ba ako nag-feel bad? Kasi is this punishment? Parang ganun, kasi wala akong faith. Is it because of lack of faith? And this is from someone who went through, as in merong mga people talaga in my life who would say na, kulang ka lang kasi sa prayer, kaya ka ganyan eh, parang ganun. Or they would even pray over me, no? So, may mga ganun talagang situations. Faith can be helpful. And one way to rethink this would be to think na there are characters in the Bible, na if you read the things that they wrote, there are a lot of parallels dun sa current na mental health disorders that we have. King David writes, no, in Psalms, "Why are you so downcast, O my soul?" And if that line there kind of sums up the feeling if you're deeply sorrowful or if you're depressed. Kasi tinatanong niya, bakit ang lungkot mo? Parang sabi niya sa sarili niya, bakit ang lungkot-lungkot ko? Nakita ko naman na God has been faithful for me. But bakit ang lungkot-lungkot ko pa rin? Diba? Elijah is another good story, no? Kasi si Elijah, pumunta siya sa, if you know the story of Elijah, no? nanalo siya against the prophets of Baal. Nag-umulan ng fire, no, from the heaven. So, victorious siya, no? Tapos, anong ginawa ni Elijah after that victory? Pumunta siya sa kuweba, tapos, umiyak siya, tapos, yun, ayaw niya na bumangon. Sabi niya, Lord, kunin mo na ako, ayoko nang mabuhay. Parang after a victory, diba? After na may nangyari, biglang ganon. Tapos, alam niyo ginawa ng ravens kay Elijah. Kasi the story goes, nandun siya sa kuweba feeling bad, no? Sabi niya, Lord, patayin mo na ako, kunin mo na ako. Tapos ginawa ni God, nagpadala siya ng ravens, ibon na to bring Elijah bread and water. Tapos sabi, kumain ka, tapos uminom ka, di ba? And in many ways, di ba, pag meron tayong pinagdadaanan, ganun din eh. We need someone to take care of us. At that point lang, ibon yung ginamit ni Elijah. So we see parallels even in the Bible, even in faith-based doctrine, of how mental health is something that we can talk about, but that prayer isn't the one solution for everything. So sa akin, it's important kasi there are things that I can surrender to God if I'm unable to. Yun, ang problema ng Ulysses at lahat ng naging biktima nito, hindi ko kayang solusyonan eh. I can do what I could. We raised funds, we donated funds, but that's all I could do. Hindi ko naman pwedeng hinto yung susunod na bagyo. So that part right there, I can surrender to God. So that's really helpful for me.
Yeah, indeed. Another question po, last two questions na lang po ito, Coach Lyqa. I always tend to unknowingly push everyone every time I feel down, but I really want to reach out. I just don't know how. There are also times that I could easily sense when someone isn't interested in what I am sharing, so I just keep everything to myself. I feel lost and I'm having a hard time trusting people. I need help with what I can do, or how should I deal with this?
It's hard to force someone out of their shell. And I know that my friends who are watching this, or if they even see this in the future, they would laugh na sinasabi ko to. Kasi, I had a friend before who told me na, you know what, I think we shouldn't be friends. Kasi alam mo na lahat ng tungkol sa buhay ko. Pero ako, wala pa akong alam tungkol sa'yo. Sabi niya sa akin talaga. Kasi ako, pag meron akong problema, I turn to you. Ikaw, wala akong alam. Parang, I know na you're trying to be a good friend to me, pero part of being a good friend is being honest. Sabi niya talaga sa akin. Even after she said that, hindi pa rin ako nag-open up sa kanya. And that is one of my, sabihin na natin, hindi naman necessarily regrets, no? One of the things that I wish I could take back in life, no? Parang regret na rin yun. Pero kasi hindi ako ganun ka-open. But it's going to be a learning process then for you. But the first question would be, do you really want things to change? Kasi sometimes we feel uncomfortable with our situation, but we don't necessarily want to take the steps to move past that situation. So kung hinug ka na talaga, as in gustong-gusto mo na talaga to reach out, you have to understand na the first time that you're going to do it, it may not work out as you expected. Na the first person that you're going to approach or trust, baka hindi ka rin niya, baka i-break niya yung heart mo, baka i-chika niya kanya sa iba or chismis kanya sa iba. May mga possibilities na ganyan. But if you really feel na, okay, I want things to change, just keep trying and trying until you find your people or you find your tribe. You can start with the little things. Like, hindi naman kailangan i-pour lahat ng issues mo or lahat ng trauma mo dun sa person. Start with a few things lang muna na you can share, like what you're feeling right now. And eventually you will gain yung confidence and other people will gain your trust. Kasi one of the things that I tell people who tell me na I don't have any friends is to look around. And I say that because that's one of the frustrations of my sister din sa akin. Because I used to say that, I don't have any friends, I don't have friends. Tapos sabi ng kapatid ko, na-offend kami pag sinasabi mong wala kang friends. Kasi ano kami? Sabi niya, ano kami sa iyo, di ba? Kahit kapatid mo kami, we can be your friends too. And we are trying to be your friend. this person, tinuturo talaga ng kapatid ko, itong mga taong to, they are always here for you. Hindi ka lang talaga nag-open up. So, again, look around and try trusting people with just a piece at a time. And eventually you'll have that confidence and they'll gain your trust. Hopefully.
Thank you, Coach Lyqa. Last question na po from Renee Palencia. Good morning, Coach Lyqa. Pahabol question po. What will I do if my friend shows signs of being suicidal and feel ko yung advices ko are useless na? Well, she is a senior high school student po, Coach.
You know what? The moment that you feel that your friend is in distress na ganong level, na may suicidal ideation na or na-mention niya na kahit jokingly, that's the moment na you start asking talaga for help. Actually, dapat before that pa, no? Pero yung sinasabi mo na may signs na siya of being suicidal. Ask for help sa labas. Like, get in touch with that person's parents, get in touch with that person's teachers, kung kakasi mo siya. So, tell your teacher about it, tell your guidance counselor about it. Kasi the thing is, ang suicide is not a joke. And when it comes to people who are even just joking about suicide, baka call for help na lang or baka indication na that they are serious about it. And hindi mo siya kayang gawin, you are a senior high school student, ha? Anak, hindi ikaw ang solusyon again sa iyong kaibigan. So you are trying to help, but you are not the solution. So find an adult that is close to that person who can get them to ask for help or can bring them to a psychiatrist or at least a counselor to help them. Sa states, no, may suicide watch, no? Ibig sabihin nun, if a person even jokes about suicide, kahit sa traffic light violation or anything like that, they would keep that person for a full day sa isang institution just to make sure that they don't do anything to themselves. We have to have, I think, that same sense of urgency when it comes to the Philippines. So right now, okay, Renee, try to message to that person's parent. Tito, my friend told me this. Ganyan, I feel like he needs help. Baka pwede niyo po kausapin yung guidance counselor namin or your teacher kung hindi mo kilala yung parents niya. Okay? Hanap ka na ng ibang tutulong sa'yo kasi hindi mo dapat maging sole burden yan.
Thank you, Coach Lyqa. Well, that concludes our question and answer portion. Coach Lyqa, do you have any wrap-up message to our participants?
I guess just looking at the thread na rin and the theme of the questions, I'm so excited about how many people are interested when it comes to mental health. I'm just hoping that this is not just a trend, no? Na kasi uso siya right now, then we eventually forget about it, no? We have to keep talking about it. We have to keep having the difficult conversations. You have to understand your own emotions. You have to go through it. But at the same time, also remember that everyone else in life is going through their own journey. So at the very least, we can be compassionate towards other people, even at the point that we are experiencing pain sa sarili natin or that people are not expressing compassion towards us. This is how, and I'll speak as your ate, this is how you can be a better generation than the generations that came before you. That you take it further. That it's not just about acknowledging your feelings. It's about allowing other people to have their own feelings and help them to cope with it, even if you're going through the same things then, the same struggles. We're struggling together. It will not be romantic. It will not be beautiful. It will not be grand and gracious. It's not going to be a perfect picture. But if we allow ourselves to make mistakes and allow other people to make mistakes, then maybe, just maybe, we can keep climbing up the mountain and then eventually this will be all okay.
Wow, let's make a safe space for everyone. Once again, Coach Lyqa, we are just so humbled and at the same time, we feel exceeding joy to be joined by the Lyqa Maravilla. Your generosity in sharing your message, your testimony didn't just encourage us, but transformed our perspectives. Hindi po namin sasayangin ang mga inputs na binigay po ninyo. Like mustard seeds, we'll let them grow. And like what the wise father said in Proverbs, we'll bind them around our necks and we'll write them on the tablet of our hearts. And thank you for responding to this invitation. Well, that's it, ladies and gentlemen. That concludes our webinar on mental health. Dear students, you may not be okay today, but you will be okay. It should not stop with a period in your life, sabi nga ni Coach Lyqa, because everything will be okay in the end. And if it's not okay, it's not that the end. Once again, thank you so much to our speaker, Coach Lyqa Maravilla, students, SWDS, Office of the Student Affairs and Services, Summer State University guests, netizens, thank you for joining us on the quest of unearthing the depths of our hearts and minds, emotions, and our mental health. It's not every day po that we meet Ma'am Lyqa and we meet each other. So can I just request a group photo if that's okay to our Zoom participants? I hope it's okay for you. So kindly open po your cameras. And we'll have a photo opportunity on cloud. Ayan, so we're waiting po sa inyo lahat dito sa Zoom. Please open your cameras right now. We are waiting for our other participants to open their cameras. And we have 2 panels here in Zoom. So again, we are requesting all our Zoom participants to please open your cameras right now. At hindi talaga every day that we are joined by the best and the biggest influencers in the YouTube and in the TikTok industry, and even here in the Philippines and all over the world, si Coach Lyqa Maravilla. Kaya open your cameras now. At first photo op muna natin, ngiting it's not okay muna. So ngiting it's not okay. So in 3, 2, 1, smile everybody.
Thank you so much, Ma'am Lyqa.
Ayan, so that is our Vice President for Student Affairs and Services, Engineer Amanta. Do you like to say something?
Thank you so much, ma'am. Congratulations. Pasensya na, kanina nawala. Nag-out ako.
That is okay. Thank you so much, Engineer Amante. Ito naman, another group photo naman po. Ngayon, ngiting it's okay na. Ayan, so in 3, 2, smile, smile, everybody. In 3, 2, 1, smile. Keep on smiling. Keep on smiling, everyone. That's it. You all look great today. Time check, it's already 11:15, and I guess you are already hungry, so we'll just leave it here. Let's all remember it's important to talk to someone, to share the burden, and to understand and be patient with yourselves. The Summer State University, through the Student Welfare and Development Services, is here for you. Thank you, everyone. And of course, thank you once again to Coach Lyqa. You can unmute your microphones, everyone, and you could say thank you to our... Ayan.
Thank you, Coach.
Thank you, Coach.
Thank you, po. Thank you.
Thank you, Coach.
Please, please.
Thank you, Coach. You're welcome. Thank you for having me. See you in summer soon, hopefully.
Yeah, we're looking forward to that.
God bless you.
So thank you, everyone. I am Jessa Tocomo, your moderator. Kindly po muna natin. Ayan, so thank you, everyone. I am Jessa Tocomo, your moderator, quoting Matthew 5:4. Blessed are those who mourn, for they will be comforted. And if you're not okay, you don't have to pretend. You can say, I need help, and we are here for you. Share, slow down, and shake it. Thank you so much, everybody. This has been your webinar this morning. Thank you, and God bless. Keep safe, everyone. Bye! Shoutout po dito sa mga nandito sa boardroom. Hello, you can show yourselves on screen po sa SWDS team. Thank you so much for making this event possible.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you so much, WDS. Thank you, Ma'am Lyqa.
Thank you for everyone who organized this. Jessa, you're such a great host and moderator.
Thank you, Coach. Like, oh my gosh. Nahihiya.
Ang galing mo talaga. As in, you could be a radio DJ.
Ayan, ma'am. Super.
Ang galing po, ma'am.
Coach Lyqa.
Grabe. I remember Joyce talaga kasi she's a good friend. Tapos may meeting kami later. Tapos sabi ko, madam, napaaga ba kami ni Joyce? Pagbukas nung na-start ka magsalita, wait lang, di ba mamaya pa si Joyce? Akala ko talaga. Joyce Spring has, so she's a really good host then. So, great job, Jessa.
Thank you po, Coach Lyqa.
Thank you po, Ma'am Lourdes and Andrea and everyone. Salamat po.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you po.
Bye, everyone. Keep safe and God bless.
Nawara ako kanina.
And as we end, let's sing all together the SSU March and the SSU Jingle. Bye, everybody.
Thank you, Jessa. Thank you.
Let us sing a song of gladness to our alma mater race. Come, ye classmates, friends, and comrades, let her glory be your praise. May your lasting light be our guide, as we leave our portals wide. SSU only ever, in our hearts will this refrain. Faith will lead us to our destiny of success or adversity. Yet to the end we give our loyalty. Alma mater, hail to thee. In the eye beholds of learning, from the wisdom thou hast gained, shaping lives for home and country, for our nation's great